Hey there, and welcome to Go Far Girl, the podcast where women share the stories that changed them one journey at a time. I'm your host, Chantel. I'm a travel writer and a lifelong wanderer, and I believe that every mile we travel brings us closer to the strongest, boldest, most authentic versions of ourselves. Each week, I'll sit down with incredible women to talk about the trips that shaped them, the lessons they learned along the way, and the power of going far in every sense of the word. So grab your coffee, your journal, or your carry-on, and let's dive in.
All right, everybody. Hi. Thanks for joining us on Go Far Girl today. I'm back with Carrie, who we met last week. And if you missed her episode, definitely go back and listen to it because she shared all of the juicy details of her life with us, and it was amazing. So today she wants to focus on her one of her favorite travel places, the places that she lived for a while, New York City. And I think New York City is a place that everyone wants to go, no matter where they're from in the world. Everyone wants to go to New York at some place or at some point. But I also feel like it's kind of overwhelming because it's crazy and it's a lot and there's so much to do and there's different neighborhoods and there's different things and how do you know what to do and how much time do you have? And so talking to someone who's lived there is the best way to get the inside scoop on all things New York. And so she's going to help us know what to focus on, all of her little, I don't even know what she's going to tell us. We're just going to let her tell us. So I'll turn it over to you. Tell us all about the Big Apple.
Hi. Thanks for having me again.
Yes.
So the thing about New York is that it's near and dear to my heart. You know, growing up, I was a dancer, and so that's all I wanted to do was to go there and dance. And my parents wouldn't really let me go to college there. So as soon as I graduated, then I got some dance work, and like I shared last week, I went to Mexico, et cetera, and then I ended up in New York. And it was fabulous until it wasn't. It was great, great, great. I was waitressing, I was teaching exercise, I had friends, I had this big life. I was auditioning all the time, and I went on tour with these Bugs Bunny shows a couple of times, and then it was the 80s, and New York was hard, and so I ended up living kind of what now is Harlem, and the train. I don't know if you've ever seen that Woody Allen movie where the train goes in front of his window.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so that was my apartment that I came with, So what happened was I was robbed. My dance bag was robbed from a restaurant, and my stuff was robbed from my apartment, and other stuff. I just got robbed like 3 times in a row, and I didn't have work, and I didn't have money. You know, everything just sort of fell apart a little bit. So I had kind of a sour New York ending, and I left and I did other things with my life. And so then when it was time to go back and things were very, very different in New York, it just got cleaner and safer and nicer. And my life was very different. And now I cannot get enough of it. If I could buy an apartment in New York, I would not hesitate at all.
Which neighborhood would you want to be in?
Well, good question. So,
The
I
Upper East Side.
well, I was an Upper West Side girl. The whole time
Okay.
I lived there, that's where I was, and that's where all my friends were, and we were all Upper West Side people. And so that's like home to me. However, my daughter lives on the Lower East Side, which when I lived there, you wouldn't even go near there. We called it Alphabet City. It was very dangerous. You wouldn't go there. And I didn't go there. There were some clubs there and stuff, but it was not the place to be. Now it is very hip, very chic, tons of young people. I mean, my daughter and all the 20 somethings are living down there because it's affordable, it's cute, it's nice, it's safe. Great. So I really like downtown now. So now since she's lived there, I'm much more sort of familiar with the Lower East Side and the West Village and Soho and Tribeca, that whole part of Lower Manhattan that when I lived there, I didn't really spend time down there.
I
Um,
like it. I like Rebecca and so
yeah, it's great.
yeah.
We, through this odd connection, we have ended up being able to rent this apartment on the Upper East Side from this woman. So every time when I go by myself, I just stay with my daughter. But when my husband comes, we stay on the Upper East Side. So now I love all the neighborhoods because so now I love the Upper West Side. I love the Upper East Side. I love downtown. So I wouldn't stay in Midtown. I wouldn't not suggest that, except I do have a couple of hotels. Like if people want to go to New York for the first time and they want to be close to a lot of things, I do have some places that I recommend that are midtown-ish, but not like Times Square, you
So what
know.
are those places? Where would
So,
you put
so
someone?
the Empire Hotel is right across from Lincoln Center. So you're like at 59th Street. So it's, you're midtown-ish, but you're still close enough to the park and close enough to Uptown. And then you have all the subways and you can, get to downtown really easily. And you can be near Times Square if you want to be. But I feel like Times Square is just good to get to the theater, eat your dinner, get to the theater and kind of get out.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
feel like
don't.
that's the only time I didn't ever really feel safe necessarily too in New York. It was kind of just in that area. There's just a lot of chaos and a lot of just people and trying to talk to you and grab you to like look at their CDs and all of this stuff. And I just didn't like it. It was just
Right. Right. It just doesn't feel like real New York to me. I kind of have that same experience in Las Vegas. I don't like that so crowded and so many people sort of wanting something from you kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. So, Times Square is fun, like I said, to go to a
you
show.
have to see it too. I mean, and then like you said,
Right.
fine.
Right. 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 Yeah. 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 Right.
Are there other places that you feel like that are touristy so much that they kind of don't really capture New York for you? Like there's a bunch of observation towers, right? So you can go to the Empire State Building, you could go to Vanderbilt One, you can go to what top of the
Mhm.
rock. So there's a lot of those kinds of things. There's obviously the Statue of Liberty, Chelsea Market, things like that. Are there places where you're like, skip it?
So for me, I like the old fashioned, more traditional parts of New York. So like if you're gonna do a observation tower, go to the Empire State. That's my thing. I recommend that all the time and in all my blogs. It's very special. That building is gorgeous. I don't know if you've gone up to the
Yeah.
86th floor and you can have champagne and be on the deck, like just in all the movies. And now they have heating lamps. And so even
I
if it's
know.
cold, that's
It was 8 degrees when we were there in January. And we went to the night, we went up at night. My friend Shelly's like, are we doing this? I was like, heck yeah, we're doing it. But even with the heating lamps, we were just like little mosquitoes. We were just like
yeah,
sticking to them as
it's
much as
pretty windy.
it was
Right.
so windy.
Right. But the sunset is fabulous, and it's the Empire State Building. It's just really special. The top of the rock is nice because you can see the Empire State, right? Because it's lower, so that you can see other buildings that from the Empire State you can't see. Yeah, but all the newer things, I know people love that stuff, and you can like climb the side of the building now, and you can like force the edge or whatever. Not for me, but I'm the kind of tourist who actually likes tourist things. Like I'm the person who, yeah, I'm going to the top of the Eiffel Tower with my daughter on Christmas Eve. Why would I not do that? I'll wait in line to do that because this is a once in a lifetime thing. So like if you're going to be in New York the one time, yeah, do the one thing. And yes, you might have to wait in line. And yes, it might be a
You are
tourist.
a tourist, so do the
Yeah,
tourist thing.
do the tourist thing.
Yeah.
That's why they're popular because they're special. And I like those iconic sort of moments in New York. I just do. And the other thing for me that's very special about New York now is going all the way downtown to the 9/11 to, that whole area. I cried every time. I've been down there. I don't know how many times, and I cry every time.
The first time I went was this January, and it's a lot. It's really well done.
It's gorgeous and it's special and it's important. And I also feel like there's something about the earth there, right? That is holding all of the people, right? It's sort of sacred ground now. And so I always recommend that people go down there. You don't need to go all the way to the top of the One World Trade Tower or any of those things, but to be there and see those reflection pools and to just be in that space, I think is important. When I lived there, I worked for a catering company and we used to serve the executives of Philip Morris Agency, the cigarette company, at the very, very top floor of one of the buildings. And, those are the buildings that were demolished. And so it was many, many years ago. That was in 1980 something that I worked there. So it's also special for me to go because I used to work there. I used to be serving coffee and breakfast to there. So anyhow, there's a lot of New York that I recommend. I love spending time in the park. Everybody who goes to New York should spend as much time in Central Park as they can. It's got so much to offer, and there can be tons of people there, but you don't ever feel like it's crowded. It feels safe and festive and, like I said, traditional New York. Like if you think of all the old movies or, all your favorite TV shows or, think of all the times that you've seen Central Park. And so then to just really be there and row the boats and, do all the things. I love it. Yeah. It's pretty.
Where's your favorite place to eat? Like,
Oh,
pick up
God.
food. Like,
Okay. So my daughter is the queen of finding all the best restaurants so that every time I go, then we're out to dinner every night. So I have a blog post of like 39 best restaurants in New York because it's hard to decide. But I would say, like, if you are just there for, a few days, I would go downtown. I would go to the Village or to Soho. There's so many good restaurants down there. Lots and lots and lots of good Italian. And there's a really good Japanese. There's good food everywhere.
we got really good sushi. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was down right before, it was near Broadway because we were going to a show right after. But I recommend that people don't eat in the Times Square area normally.
Yeah.
Because
Although I do recommend before the show that you eat at Dos Caminos because it is this giant Mexican restaurant that from the outside, it's one of those weird New York things that you think it's going to be a small place. Then you go in and it's huge and it goes downstairs and food. Have you ever had that experience? Like New York has those buildings where you're like, how is this possible? It's like Harry Potter building. But Dos Caminos is really good Mexican. It's really inexpensive, and it is right in Times Square, so you don't have to stress about getting to the theater on time. Because this has happened to me where we have missed the beginning of a show because you don't want that to happen. So if you eat at Dos Caminos right in Times Square, you'll have a very good meal, and then you'll be right next to whatever theater. Yeah.
I love it. Do you have tips on getting tickets? So I know there's something called the Broadway lottery. How do you get your Broadway tickets?
Okay, so when I lived there, that Tix booth used to be the thing. We would wait in line and I'd get $10 seats and stand in the back of all the best shows. But now I use Today Tix, which is an app. Do you know about this?
That's where I got mine.
Oh, okay. So that's what I use because I can use it here in San Francisco. I can use it in New York. I can use it anywhere. And you can set like an alert that, let's say you're going to be there for a while and you want to see a certain show, they let you know if there's like $40 seats for that night. But you have to be able to go like right then that night kind of thing. But there's a way to set that up on the app. So yeah. And the app is free. So
which I also love.
Right. And I think pretty much anywhere you're going to buy tickets, you're going to have to pay those extra fees and So I don't find that Today Tix are any more.
And I don't think it was unreasonable. I don't think, like you said, it's just what you assume. If you're on Ticketmaster, even go into a baseball game or something, you're always
right.
So
Yeah. So I always suggest that people if you have just a limited amount of time and you got to go to a show. I feel like, one of the nights, I feel like you got to go to the Met. There's a lot of art museums there, and I'm a huge art museum fan, and I love, love, love everywhere I travel to go to art museums. But if you can only go to one museum in New York, I would suggest that. Find the type of art that you want to see, find the one section that you want to, don't try and see the whole museum.
Oh, yeah.
Go see what you like, because it's also a super special building in a really special part of Manhattan. I always recommend Empire State Building. And, the Statue of Liberty is a fun thing to do. It takes a lot of time. You can see her from the shore. You do not have to get on the boat and go see her.
We took a ferry over to Staten Island.
Staten Island, the
Yeah,
free.
so free, yes. So that's what we did because I had been out to Liberty Island before and Ellis Island, but my friend didn't want to necessarily. It was just so cold when we were there, so she's like,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
want to see it kind of close. So we just hopped on the ferry, stood outside and froze, and got a good picture of her going by, and then flipped around and came back. And so that's a good tip too. You could that you don't have to go there.
You don't have to do the tour or whatever. Exactly. Right. It's a free ferry to Staten Island and back again. But you have to get in the queue. You have to wait again, right? To get back on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were able to just really just walk through and get back on the very same boat we had just gotten. So it was perfect. We were like,
Yeah.
Great. So,
I mean, if you have time to do, I think the Ellis Island Museum is very well done. I really
and I
like
think
that
that can be
museum.
emotional too. I
Like,
had an emotional experience when I was there. I think that's really a special place.
yeah.
There's so much history, especially if you had family that you trace came through there, kind of adds on to that. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Right.
But
Right.
for those that don't have time,
If you don't have
to
that
see
time.
the Statue of Liberty, and so this
Yeah.
is nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other places that are kind of more local that are dear to you that people don't get to see. They're not maybe the top 10 in the tourist book, but people miss it.
I like Chelsea a lot. I think that neighborhood has a lot to offer. And I feel like a lot of people aren't suggesting it. Like the High Line is great. It's a great thing to do any time of the year.
Yeah.
Because it's, just for your listeners, if they don't know what the High Line is, it's an old railroad track that rises above the streets of Manhattan from lower Midtown. It's the meatpacking district. And so those trains used to take meat from that part of Manhattan uptown a little bit. And so the railroad track just went to this one stretch above the streets of Manhattan. And then it was, it stopped, running many, many, many years ago. And it was just, they were going to tear it down, and neighborhood groups turned it into this art installation, and it's a garden. And so you walk up on the High Line and now they're extending it. And so it's just filled with flora and fauna. As the seasons go on, it changes, and there's sculptures and there's benches and there's views of the river, and it's just lovely. It's lovely and it's free, and it's like just a super nice way to see a part of Manhattan that otherwise you wouldn't see. So I really like it there.
Kind of like a little haven. Like you said, you just get above things. And yeah, it's unique. You don't get to do that everywhere.
Right. Especially on the streets of Manhattan, where the concrete jungle and the sidewalks and everything's it's so intense. It's nice to be up above and to overlook the water. That's another part of town where there's Little Island. Did you guys do that? Did you go?
No, we didn't go to Little Island because it was so cold, and we were only there a couple of days. I had a conference one full day, so we went to Chelsea Market. We went to the Starbucks roastery. That's
okay, which is very cool, right?
Oh, cool. So we had been to the one in Seattle because that's where we live close by there. And so we saw that. We're like, okay, well, obviously we're going to stop in here, which is a whole event in itself. And then we went over across the street to the market and got, I think we got food from like 3 different places, like a taco and some dumplings and some noodles, and kind of just hung out there. And then I have been up on the High Line before, but not over to all the way down to where Little Island is. So I do want to do it, but do you want to explain that to people that haven't?
Yeah, so Little Island is after there was a hurricane or, that part of Manhattan and the piers. There are all these very historic piers along the Hudson River. And so there was a storm and and that whole neighborhood was struggling. And so an island a man-made island was built out of they're called like tulips. And they're these pods that are sort of in the river, and they planted and created this island above it. And so there's an amphitheater there, and there's hands-on sort of activities for kids, and there'll be food trucks out there sometimes. And it's just this sweet little place. It's a little island.
It's magical.
Yeah. It's like a little Hobbit island or something.
You know what it reminds me of when I see the pictures? I always think of like Super Mario Brothers, the video game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why that's what always triggers when I look at Mario.
Yeah. And right next door to that is this Pier 57, and there's a food market there, similar to Chelsea Market, but you can go in there and buy food. And then up above is a park, like a rooftop park that you can bring your picnic and eat and be over the river. And,
Oh, that's
and if let's say you're not a big museum person, you can spend lots of time in Chelsea just going in and out of the galleries. So this is another great way. You're not spending any money, and it's like you're being in art museums, some of the best art you'll ever see. And there's tons of galleries in Chelsea. So you can just literally walk up and down the streets and wander in the galleries and out and, see stuff you like and leave if you don't like it. And the Whitney Museum is there, which is very, very beautiful American contemporary art museum that's small enough. So like if you're overwhelmed by the Met, the Whitney is a great place to go because you can pretty much see the whole museum in one visit. They'll have their permanent collection is great, but they also have great exhibits, and you can have like just a few hours there and pretty much see the whole thing. So that's a great neighborhood. The other neighborhood I would recommend that I think people don't know to go to is South Street Seaport. I don't know if you guys went down there. So this is like the oldest part of Manhattan. It's very, very historic. There are big, tall ships parked there, and there's what was the factory? Anyhow, there's factories down there, and now it's all sort of hip shops and restaurants and outdoor cafes, and there's a museum down there, a shipyard museum, and it's also on the water and way downtown and cobblestone streets and like really old New York. Yeah.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm like making
South
mental
Street,
notes and planning
Yes.
a trip. I'm like, all the things done.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
amazing. So there really is. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but there's something for everyone in New York. But there really is, right? Because you could go all night long, crazy, 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 and have something to do all the time. Or you could really slow down and pick and choose, like you were saying, just walking boutique stores and art museum or art galleries, things like that. You really can make it kind of your own little place, right?
It's true. It's got a European style in that you could literally just find a cute cafe, which there are thousands of them, and you could be down in Tribeca or Soho and sit at a cafe for hours and hours and hours like you would in Paris. You don't have to be going all the time at all there. And yeah, even when it's cold, we go there a lot at Christmas time, and it's festive, and it's cold, and you were just there, and it's a cold winter, but still it's everything's lit up and decorated, and so yeah, I even like New York in the hot summer. I mean, a lot of people can't stand how hot it gets there, but I kind of don't mind, because I love to just be walking in New York.
There's just so many iconic things. I was thinking, even we just went to the biggest Macy's in the world and rode like they have a wooden escalator from I don't even know what year, but you might. But it's just like all the things that you can really only do that are so New York that are just like I wouldn't just go on vacation somewhere and be like, oh, I really want to go to Macy's. But I really want to go to that
that's where the
Macy's.
Thanksgiving Day to parade.
But like I want to go to that Macy's, right? And so I think that there's just those things that are funny, or I don't find myself often like I would just really like a dollar slice of pizza right now.
Yeah.
But if I'm in New York, you dang well better bet I'm having a
You want
dollar
that?
slice
You
of
want
pizza.
that bagel, and you want that friend. Yep.
It better be dripping. Like I want it.
So, one time we were there, this was years ago, and we were at 34th Street in front of the Macy's at Herald Square, and it was a salsa class. So I just threw down my backpack and we were dancing with the, I was like, only in New York is there going to be a salsa class in front of the Macy's. Like, how did that even happen? I don't know. Yeah.
I love that, though. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that people get intimidated by New York. And I think that you're helping show that it really doesn't have to be that way and it doesn't have to be so unmanageable. And I would say to tell people to don't rent a car. Oh my gosh, do not rent a car. And you don't have to Uber or taxi everywhere either. The subways are so easy to navigate and so accessible. I feel safe. I mean, there's always crazy people everywhere, right? So, but, I mean, even after our show, it was 2 a.m. We were heading back on the subway. I didn't feel uncomfortable ever on the subway. I didn't feel like it was hard to navigate. I think that we even took the train from JFK in
Oh, did you? Oh, good.
Yeah. There's a congestion tax now that they're charging on Ubers and taxis, things like that. So it makes it was already expensive, so it makes it more expensive. And I think that the subways and the public transportation is just so easy and affordable that it's not something to be afraid of.
Now you can just tap your phone. Like if you have your Apple Pay, whatever, you can just tap in. And now that I'm 65, I'm going to New York in a couple weeks, and I'm going to get a senior pass thing. I have to show my ID, half price subway, half price. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
I think that's a thing too. And it was maybe like ride like 12 times in a week, but then after that, everything's free or something.
Yeah.
So,
You can buy a pass, an Omni pass or something. It's
yeah. So if you knew, you were going to be there for a full amount of time, you'd have to kind of map it out to see if that was
if it's worth it. Right. But New York is cleaner and safer than parts of San Francisco now. There are parts of San Francisco that are gorgeous and still lovely, but we go to New York a lot and we're always like, wow, it's actually really nice here. I mean, chances are as a tourist, you're not going to be on the subways and the trains of the parts of New York that maybe you shouldn't be going to. Right. So I agree with you. Yeah. 2 a.m, you're still kind of going to be okay. I mean, we make sure our daughter Ubers home if she's alone or whatever, or she's not doing unsafe things. But if you're with people,
and another thing, as women, what we tried to do on the subways, especially at night, was to not get into an empty car, right? There was always enough people there that there'd be kind of one car that had a handful of people in it. And so we would always gravitate toward and being by ourselves. So I think you have to make smart choices, but I think that you still.
But that's true traveling anywhere, especially as a woman. Yeah.
For sure.
With friends or by yourself. You have to be with, and I think it's really good to know where you're going. Right? To not be on your phone trying to figure out. That's one of the reasons I got Apple Watch was so that if I was like needing directions somewhere, because uptown, everything's on a grid and you can kind of figure out if you're north, south. But when you're downtown in the Village and Lower East Side or Lower West Side, you don't know where you are. And it's not good to just be walking around looking at your phone to figure out.
It makes you a target.
Right.
And it makes you not aware of what's going on. I think another thing is our earphones not being so distracted or taking those out. So at least you can hear what's going on around you, helping you be more aware that way.
Right.
But Apple Watch is a great tip for directions. I have actually, so that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that Ubers and Lyfts and Rebels and all those things are really convenient. You don't have to hail a cab. You could hail a cab, but you don't have to do that anymore in New York, and they'll come just pick you up exactly where you're standing. And that's always a safe option.
And with those, for people who don't know, on an Uber, you can share your ride with somebody. So when I'm away by myself, if I get into an Uber, I can send that information to my husband or one of the boys, and they can follow. It gives them the whole driver profile, first of all, and then it also follows the ride with you. It shows them where you're started, where you're supposed to end up, and then it kind of tells them when the ride is over. And so that always just makes me feel better too.
Right.
And it makes them feel better. They can know if you are by yourself. That's always a good with Uber too. But like Carrie was saying, not just in New York, like everywhere. You got to make it.
Right.
What's your favorite time of year
to be in New York? I'm going to say the fall.
Okay. So if someone's never been.
If someone's never been and you have a choice, I would go in September, October. You're still going to get some of those sunny days, but you're going to get really beautiful trees in the park.
The park is gorgeous.
I mean, like right now, the park has all the cherry blossoms, so spring is also nice, but it's more dicey in terms of the weather. But the fall is pretty consistently going to be crisp and still sunny and really pretty. Yeah.
Any final words on New York?
Go if you can.
Yes.
I'll meet you there.
I love it so much. Thank you for sharing that with us. New York is always such a fun topic because everybody sees it differently. Everybody's had their own experiences there. And like I said, everybody wants to go. Everybody should go.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to go this year. Yeah.
Yeah. I love going with different people. So I've been a couple of times, and each time with kind of a different person. So it's always fun to see it through their eyes.
Someone else's eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because even things that you were like, oh, it was okay. But then they're like, it's amazing. And you're like, oh, wait. So this time we walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. I hadn't done that.
Oh, which is a
So-
super fun thing to do.
So we took the subway to the Dumbo area.
Oh,
and took a
okay.
Walk.
Watch back
So
into
then we're
Manhattan.
looking at Manhattan the whole way in, which was really amazing, and that was a beautiful walk. So that's something I think people should do. That was really fun.
Nice. Next time you go, take the tram over to Roosevelt Island, which is also
Okay.
a fun little thing that a lot of people don't think to do. And it's like at 60th Street or something. And it's just the same as a subway ticket, but you're taking that tram across over to the island. And then you can walk all the way around Roosevelt Island and take the tram back. It's kind of a fun little.
And that's the cool thing about
excursion.
returning, right? Once you do those main tourist things,
Right. You do these other
you
little.
can go to Roosevelt Island. You can go to Little Island. You can just wander through the village and check out. So yeah, I love that.
Right. Good
Thanks.
point. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
And for
Super
everyone,
fun.
you can follow Carrie on her blog, carriegreenzin.com, and same for all of her socials. All right. So we'll see you next week. Carrie, thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening to Go Far Girl. If this episode made you smile, dream a little bigger, or realize it's never too late to book the trip, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with a friend. And hey, we've got an amazing group of women waiting for you inside our Facebook community. Just search Go Far Girl. Come on in and say hi. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and never stop going far.